Hi, this is Sally Wood for Be Inspired, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a slipcover for this style of chair. I actually have two to make, so the pattern I cut I will be reusing to make the second slipcover. It's quite a simple one, but I'll show you some techniques and why I do it and the way I'm going to do it. So let's get on with it. For this project we're going to be using the canvas drop cloths that you can buy from the DIY store. My advice to you is to wash it at least twice so it shrinks up nicely, and you don't have to iron it because we're going to be cutting it and ironing it anyway. Work out which way the fabric goes for the grain. Because it's a drop cloth, I'm actually just going to cut the existing hem off. I don't need that. You don't have to do all of it, just do the parts you need when you need them. Then look at the way the weave is, and the weave is along here. This is the crossways, so I'm actually going to follow the weave, not the hem on here, because if I follow the hem it's going to be all wonky. At least if I follow the way the weave is, then I'm going to get a straight line. The first piece I'm going to cut out, just going to put over the top. The selvage was on this side, so I'm going to keep that as straight as I can. The piece that I cut that was quite wonky, I am going to pull all the way over here. Make sure that it's nice and flat in there. You don't have to push anything in just yet. Once you've decided which way you're going to have the fabric, in this case, make sure it runs the same way all the way around the chair. Somebody with eagle eyes will notice if you do it wrong. That's nicely smoothed over. I'm just going to adjust this so that it's a little bit closer to the edge here. I could do it all in one piece like the back. The only difficulty is you have all of these pleats going in, and it's very bulky to go through the sewing machine. My advice is to pull it all the way back so that you have a nice edge here. This comes all the way down under here. Make sure that's nice and smooth and as even as you can, because you're going to be putting a seam along here. Only when you're happy with it. Smooth it into the chair seat here and just tuck it in with your fingers on those edges, because those edges are going to keep it from moving too much. You have nothing else holding it at the moment. The next piece I want is from here, so I'm going to measure from the top, give it a good inch at the top or 2 centimeters to the piping, and there again give it a good inch to 2 centimeters. That's my length, which I can get out of here. Having started cutting the hem off at the bottom, I'm going to start cutting along the top here. I've still got plenty of fabric to go in at the back of the chair. Cut it as straight as you can, using those thick threads that go on the weft of the fabric. Now the other thing, I need to have the width of the piece I need to cut out. Along the back, a good inch there and a good inch here. Because it's shaped, I'm actually going to make it 9 inches. That should be plenty. I'll find my 9 inches and start cutting up towards the top. There's that, and I'm going to let the measure run along the outside edge there as I cut up. This doesn't have to be perfect, because after all I'm going to be cutting everything back, and I'll cut a second one out in a second for the other side. This side piece, make sure I've got my good inch at the top and it comes down. I'm also going to put it at a slight angle so that the back side should have the straighter edge. With my pins I'm going to just pin up here, one midway down and one towards the bottom. Now that's all held into place. I can start pinning across the front here. Where I assume the angle is, I just roll the 2 pieces of fabric in together. I try to keep it level with this join here, especially to start off with. So I'm going to pin from the bottom up. There's my first pin. I try to pin on the inside. They seem to go in better. Use that line on up. Be careful when you're doing it. Keep your lines as straight as you can. Now I tend to pull the back down towards the bottom, not so that it gives ruffles or wrinkles or anything, but just so it goes in straight, and then you're already taking some of the extra out. I'm not pulling it this way, I'm just rolling the 2 bits in. As I come into this first pleat, I'm just going to roll the fabric up and stop about an inch below that pleat and put another couple of pins in to hold it. Just leave that there. That needs nothing else done to it at the moment. In fact, I could just cut that back, which I will do. Leave extra at the bottom and then just cut up so that they're even to that point. I'm not going to be adjusting this. If you do it as you go, then you kind of keep everything in line, and now when I look at it, I'll know that everything here has been done as I want it. I'm going to attach the other side, so I've rolled this fabric back slightly, position this also with the straight edge along the back of the chair. Pin that in 3 times, one at the top, middle and bottom. I can do one of 2 things. I can just roll it into place and pin it, which is usually what I do, or I can rough cut where it needs to go, and then it's easier for you to see. I'm going to pull that out slightly over the side of the chair, and I've been a little bit generous. At the top here, if I fold that down, even that up slightly, and I will be able to cut that also. Line it up with the side of the chair here, and I'm going to start pinning on up in as straight a line as I can do it. This is going to be the line where I put piping cord on, so if there's any imperfections it will straighten it out for me. And again, I'm only going to go up as far as this pleat here, about 1 inch below, because that's where the natural shaping of the chair starts taking place. Having trimmed up both sides, I'm going to start putting the seat in. The new cover has to come down to the height of the piping all the way round. It's not very clear because it's black fabric. Straighten that out and just make sure that comes down. Tuck that into the side there so that it can't move. Pop pins along the top of the piping cord so I know where that comes to. That is where my new piping cord will also be. Once you've got that marked in, start cutting. Give it a good inch below there, just in case you have to move it around for any reason. And I'm going to take it out to the corner, and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to pin along here, just a couple of pins so I know where I'm working to. Cut across. Also on this side, give it a good inch all the way to the back. Before I start with the seat, I'm going to pull this out and pop that under there so it's even. You don't have to do it all the way along, just most of the way along will be fine. So this pin is going to go right here on this corner. I'm pushing the seat down just a little bit, and I'm going to pop it right in there. It's a bit awkward to get into. So that's there. Now I can line up all of this. This will come in as a junction right there. I might have to move it down a little bit, but hopefully not too much. Just going to put a pin on this side here. Make sure that it goes straight like that and doesn't catch in here. Here I'm pushing the fabric into that join. It's not in line with the original join. It just goes straight down. So here's my second pin to go in. Having got those in, I'm going to just cut down here to about 1/2 inch, a generous 1/2 inch, a centimetre would do. I'm going to put a pin here which marks the top of the piping, and here put another pin into the chair here, and I'll move that to the outside like that. And now I'm just going to pin all the way along here towards the front. These pins are really important because you want to know where to hang the skirt from. It will pull out and down to a certain extent. As I work to the front, I want to hold this stable as well, so I'm going to shove a pin in this side and put another pin here like that. I try to push it all into place when I'm doing it so that I know where I am. Just pulled the front in. I did pin this earlier, but I'll put a couple more in just to make sure it's doing what I want it to do. I'm going to come along here, smooth that down into this corner and put a pin here to hold it so it won't move. On the corner here, they've got a pleat. It's not a square corner, it's a shaped corner, which means I've got a couple of choices. I can pin the corner in like that. That's one choice, which is the firmer of them. Or I can fold that down into the corner and put a pleat here and a pleat here. But this usually ends up a little bit like this. It very rarely goes in the way you want it. You really have to wriggle these ones to make sure it looks neat. The only problem with doing it this way is you have a lot of fabric in here, and invariably you put a pleat on here. I think I'll do it this way because it does give a better look. Put a pin on the corner here. Make sure it is on the corner, and another one here like that. Then I'm just going to put a little angle on there. I don't need that one anymore because I can move that. And I don't really need that one, so I'm going to pop that right there. I'm not going to cut this back just in case I change my mind. This part is awkward to show you because it's right in on the corner here and here where the two fabrics meet. I put my thumb on one side and my finger on the other, and I pin it all the way across. Try to keep it as even as you possibly can. You don't want one side to be rolled further over than the other if you can help it. I'm not going to cut any of this back because I need it. Just like on the other side, I'm going to pull this round into this corner here, push it right down into the corner like that, and secure it. Put your pin in where your top finger is and where your thumbnail is. When you've done that, you can push that back into the corner like that. That will hold. I'm going to pin on up like that. Push the fabric down slightly backwards into this corner, and I don't think I'm following it exactly that line, but it should be close to it. I try to keep these lines going straight. I think it gives a better look. I'm just going to put my pin in along where my finger is on the other side, so it's straight up, and again here. Trim this up to about 1/2 inch from there. Go out at an angle here. Adjust this pin to the back end here, and I'm going to put another pin in here so it doesn't move very much. Like I did on the other side, pin along the top of the piping so I know where to put that skirt. I'm working towards the front, but I'm not pulling it to the front. I'm just pushing it in like I did on the other side. Once you've got that in, it's up to you what kind of skirt you put on. You could put gathers on, you could put pleats like this, pleats just in the front and back corners, pleats all the way round. It really is up to you how you finish your skirt off and what fabric you use. This is just a cheaper way than going out and buying several yards. It's usually 3 yards of fabric for one of these, depending on the type of skirt you're putting in. So this is why I often do them in drop cloths. Put my pin in here so once it's where I want it, it doesn't move, and another one on this side. Pull that in to the corner. Sometimes just have to adjust it to where you think the corner is, and again I think I'll see if I can pull that down just a wee bit. So I'm pulling it down rather than pulling it across. You need to adjust these quite a few times before you get it exactly where you want it. Pin this one in and see if I can get a nice sharp corner like I did on the other side. Not too much of a curve, just a slight curve there. I think that'll be okay. It's a little bit more peaky than on the other side, but that might come in as the weight of the skirt is on there. Trim that back to within about 1/2 inch. Take the other side off as well. Straighten that out over the top, and I'm going to pop this under here. Pin it there. Pull this out towards the side, and it will come out slightly. Now I like to do my slip covers really tight. The only trouble is I've got this going on and it won't pull on very easily, so I'm going to pull that over there. Once I've got the pattern for the back, I can always adjust it, recut it differently. This piece that I'm putting on the back actually goes all the way down to the base of the chair. Fold that underneath, pin that in, and the other. Don't pull it across, just place it. You don't want it tight because we've got to be a bit creative on here. And I'll pin that way. Smooth it into place down here, and I can see where the fabric was woven, and I'm going to try to keep that as straight as possible, which might mean I have to alter the top. Here again, I'm just going to pin one side and then the other. I'm not pulling it out, I'm just placing it. This part is very important. That's that into position. Now with this center pin, I'm going to remove it, and I'm going to just pop my fingers behind here like that and pop that into it. It doesn't matter how tight I could pull the back. That is not going to be a very tight position. Now if I want to move it up or down, just roll your fingers behind and push it into position. I might change this later. On this corner here, I'm going to take out this pin, pop it right into here where the top of the chair rolls round, and remove this pin here. Now I'm going to hold it and pop that in like that. Then I'm going to push it into the corner, and then with this pin I'm going to put that in right on top of that pin, and that will hold it into position, and I'll do the same on the other side. Once those two are in place, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to put my fingers behind where I think I want the join to be, my thumb on top, and I'm just going to work my way along in as straight a line as I can. And then it shouldn't sag down too much, or if it does, it's going to sag down evenly. There are ways of dealing with this. You could always pin it hard up in there, and then you put pins in when you put the slip cover on, and it will hold it. Once this is in, I can always adjust this if I don't like the way it's gone in. And although it does hang down, it doesn't hang down too bad. And if the lady doesn't like it, she can always put a pin there and it'll hold it in place. I might adjust these. Got to remember that the roll, when it's put in, isn't necessarily straight. Now I'm going to remove the pin on the back here, push the fabrics into the corner like that and secure it. This pin can also come out. Roll the fabric into the back, don't pin it tightly. I'm going to be relying on this to be slightly loose that we can take everything apart. Work your way towards the top. Just takes a little bit of time and patience. I've removed the pin that was here. I'm rolling that up to the top and I'm going to place a pin right here. Now this is where a pleat can be, so I'm going to put a small pleat in. I'm not pulling it, I'm just pleating it, pushing that into place. And again, I'm going to just put a pin here, and then I'm going to infill right here. Then I'm going to come here, there's a pleat along here. I'm going to let the pleat go in where it wants to go in. I'm not going to make it go where the original pleat was. Roll that back out like that. And again, just pin that into place. Infill at the top here, like that. Also at the bottom there. Trim this back, curve it round so I can see where everything is. It's not quite even, but that's fine. Along the top here should be pleats, but the pleating will look lumpy. So I'm going to pull the pleat right down to the back side here, so it's hidden. And again, put the pleat in first, and then pin to infill right here. I'm working my way in here, and I'm going to put another pin into this edge here. I'm actually going to do it from the outside. I'm also going to cut in like that. It's not hard up against it. This is the edge of the chair, and that is where I've cut to, so it's a good ½ inch away. I'm going to just pop this into here as I go up, pull this out and into here. I'm going to pin it from the outside. I'm not pushing this right in. I'm trying to create a little bit of definition, but not too much. I'm going to just go across like that, and that'll be fine. Cut back here into this corner. Let's trim around like this. I'll pull that out like that and trim on around. Now I am leaving about ½ inch to an inch. I'm holding both sets of fabric and cutting down to the top of where the piping is going to go, and a little bit above there actually. Now before I'm doing the other side, I'm moving this around. It's quite firm, but there's quite a bit of resistance on the fabric. I'm not going to put this side in just yet, because having moved this, I am going to measure across from here to the outside edge there, which is about just over 17 and a half. I'm going to fold that in half so I know exactly where it is. Now, having too much resistance on your cover when you put it on or take it off means that you will rip it eventually. So I'm going to measure across, there's my halfway mark, and put a pin in the top fabric. Unpin from here across, just to about there. Now I always cut my vacs with a bit extra fabric. Where that pin dissects, I'm going to fold it. So that's my fold line. And how much do I have? Let's put maybe that much in. Fold it to the back like that. It doesn't have to be big, it just has to be there. And that's probably a couple of inches either side. So hold that forward and then I can pin that into place. I'm going to repin that there, and that's holding it. Now I'm going to take this pin out and I am going to put a pleat all the way down the back. It might not be very even at the moment, so I'm going to just pop this back up here where I think it should be. Put this pin back in. Don't need it to be very big. I could put a bit more in. Let's put that much in and put that there. I'm going to measure across here and make sure that is where it needs to be. Again, outside here to outside there. I'm going to hold both sides equal at that point and put a pin right in there to hold it. This can be a little bit of a problem. I think that's straight on that side. And I'm just going to work this in so it looks flat and straight. That looks more or less even going down. This is why I do one side and then work in the other. And measure right across again. Okay, so I did actually put that back exactly where I needed it. What I do need to do is pull this side of the pleat so it's actually level with that. I'm going to pull that there, back to there, pull that out, and then put that back in. Now this pleat I'm going to actually fold underneath and it will all be hidden, but it just needs to be in place for now. And then I'm just going to work in down here. Now if I pull this down slightly, it actually looks like that's even. I'll put a pin there where that is, and I'm going to just put a couple more in here just to hold it. Pull the fabric up into the corner. Actually I can pull that just a wee tad higher. There we go. Pin this like I did on the other side and like I showed you earlier for this corner. This original one is where it needs to be, and now all I'm going to do is fold all of this back in as straight as I can. Now because it's got a little bit extra weight, this will always pull down, but it will be even. If this had straight sides and not this roll, then I wouldn't have to do any of this. This would go in nicely. And some fabrics don't have that much resistance and you can put the roll in and still be able to pull it over. But this fabric is a cotton against a cotton. Doesn't want to play ball today. 6.5, and that's 6. Okay, we'll have to bring this in just a little bit more like that to there. I think that's going in straighter this time. As I say, just play with it. It's not always as easy as it looks. This top is going to be altered anyway. So I think that looks pretty even. And start pinning this back side in now that it's all readjusted. Just make sure it's on the corner like you did on the other side. Take that one out, that's not needed there anymore. Don't pull it, just guide it into place. Again, I'm going to correspond my pleats with the ones that are already in here. That one can go here, pin through like that. And this one goes in here, pin that into place, and then carry on with the rounded look. Trim it back, and I can see what I'm doing. Match the back ones up as close as you can. You don't want them too far over though. Roll that in, into place and pin it. I'm going to take this up first, nice and even. So again, I'm going to cut across the back of here, all the way to the center this time and across. I didn't do it all the way to the center last time because I didn't know if I was going to make alterations. Cut like that, just like I did on the other side, and then removing the pin that's in the back of the chair, and then start pinning from the back and into place so it gives it a nice rounded look. Just pull the fabric out and into shape. Not too tight. Tight enough to look rounded, but not so tight that it pulls everything back out of shape. Then again here, not into a hard angle, but a slightly rounded one. That could be pulled down slightly. And then that can go at an angle there, like that. I think that one needs to be altered. Yeah. Cut round with its seam allowance. I can overthink this and do more to it, but she wanted a simple look, and I think she's going to get it with this. Before I finish, I'm just going to roll that down into a straight line like that, and I am going to put a couple of pins in, but I'm not going to just put them in once. I'm going to put each one in 3 times. I don't want them coming back out. Same on this side. This isn't quite where the hem is going to go, but it certainly gives me an idea of where to consider putting the hem. And then again here, just going to push that down, put one all the way through that pleat. That is the longest I can make this. It'll probably be about 1/4 of an inch shorter than that. To take all of this off, first of all make sure that none of the pins are stuck into the chair. That really makes it awkward. I try to take them out as I go, but there's always a miss somewhere. Put this one just on this crease here, like that, and the same on that. And then before I open it up, I'm just going to put a pin on the inside of that fold there. I'm going to put it in a couple of times like that so it holds. Now this can all come out like that. Come round to the front, make sure that all of this lifts out of that crease. You don't want anything left in there. Then start pulling up the front. Once you've got it up at the front, pull the fabric away from the chair so you don't pin yourself. Ease it one side at a time over the roll. Don't pull it up that way, it's not going to work. You have to roll it back carefully because you don't want any of those pins coming out. When you get so far, go to the other side and start doing exactly the same. Now if I'd had all of this in, we wouldn't be able to do this very easily. So that's why I changed my idea on how to do the back. Also, why you don't pull it in too tight. Once it's got over this and into this loose part, it'll just come off. Ease it up and off. Now the pins every now and again will get caught in the fabric underneath. Got to hope that it doesn't get too caught, otherwise you have to pull it all back on. That's how to get it off. Thank you for joining me on this project. I hope that I was able to impart some useful information to you about making a slipcover for a Parson's chair. Slipcovers are not meant to be tight fitting. They're called slipcovers for a reason, because they slip over the original furniture. They're not upholstered, so you will have a little bit of peaks and ripples, but that's okay. Just remember the excess fabric that you cut on the back pushes down hard into the join of the back and the seat of the chair, and that should hold it. I think this lady's going to be pleased with her new chair cover. If you'd like to see more from me, please subscribe and hit the bell button, and in the meantime, take care. See you later. Ciao. I can see I'm going to have problems with friends today. You and I are going to fall out. Oh, really? Come on! No! Oh, you and I are going to fall out, Cam.